Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's video, I will show you how to select any number of random records from a table in your Microsoft Access database. We will learn how random numbers are generated in Microsoft Access, and we'll learn the difference between pseudo-random numbers and true random numbers. Today's question comes from Brad in Langley, Oklahoma, one of my platinum members. Brad says, I'm trying to figure out how to build a form to generate random lists from our clients. We do drug testing for companies, and we have to randomly pick 20% of each company's employees for testing. Yes, Brad, this is definitely possible in Microsoft Access. However, before I show you how to do it, let's talk a little bit about how Access generates random numbers. Now, in the world of random number generation, there are two kinds of random number generators. There's a pseudo-random number generator and a true random number generator. Now, Microsoft Access and most computer programs use what's called a pseudo-random number generator. It basically uses a mathematical algorithm to determine random numbers. Most people don't know this, but random numbers in the computer aren't really truly random. They're based on complicated algorithms that kind of sort of generate random numbers, but a computer on its own can't really easily generate a true random number. So these algorithms need to be seeded to prevent duplicate results. You can seed it manually by telling it a number, or you can tell Access to randomize the random number generator using the system clock timer. It'll take a look at, for example, the number of seconds since midnight and use that number to seed the random number algorithm. What's an algorithm? Well, it's basically just a complicated formula that Access uses to kind of sort of generate the next random number. Okay, that's what a pseudo random number generator is. This is as opposed to a true random number generator, which generally has to use external information outside of the computer to really generate a random number. These external stimuli can include things like user movements, like how the mouse moves on the screen, which generally is random. Things like atmospheric disturbance, radioactive decay, thermal noise. I've seen true random number generators calculate the actual temperature of the CPU. Things along those lines. Things that you really can't, determine with just an algorithm. You have to actually measure something in the outside world. Okay, these are much more difficult to program, and they usually require some kind of outside equipment, like to do, atmospheric disturbance, for example. You have to measure the movement of air particles and things of that nature. Usually, pseudo-random number generators are okay for most applications, games, business stuff, like picking 20 random employees. All right, true random number generators are usually used for things like generating lottery numbers, security applications, cryptocurrency, that kind of stuff. So chances are, for most things you're going to be doing in Access, a pseudo-random number generator is just fine. So that's what I'm going to show you in this lesson. Members, we'll talk more about true random number generation in the extended cut. For those of you who are interested in learning more about random number generation, I got some interesting links to some articles. I'll put them in the links section down below in the description. Go ahead and click on that. Okay, just one prerequisite before we get started today. If you don't know how to make calculated query fields, then go watch this video. It's free. It's on my website. Calculated query fields is where you take a query and you make a new field that's based on other fields or mathematical calculations or something else. So you need to know how to do that before we continue for today. So go watch that and then come on back. Okay, here I am in my Tech Help free template. This is a free download off my website. You can go grab a copy if you want to. And in here, I've got a customer table where I've got 6 customers, and I want to assign each of these customers a random value so that I can sort them in order and pick the top 3, let's say. So let's make a query. Let's come over here and go to Create, Query Design. I'll bring in my customer table, and then I'll bring in the customer ID and the first name. So right now it looks like that. And now let's make a calculated field to put that random number in. Now, in Access, we use the Rnd function to generate a random number. So I'm going to Shift F2, zoom in. So I'm going to make this, let's call this field X. And this will be Rnd, and then open, close parentheses. That says, give me a random number. All right, hit OK. And let's save this query as RNDQ, my random number query. And let's run it. Okay, let's widen that field out so we can see everything in there. And there's our random number. Now, the random number that it generates is a floating point number with a decimal point, and it goes from 0 to 1. It's technically greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1, so it's not quite 1. So if you want to generate a number, let's say you're rolling dice, you want from 1 to 6, you got to just do a little math on it. We'll talk about that later. Now, the problem that we have here is that every single record got the same random number. Now, this is something that happens when you're dealing with queries in Access. Whenever you use a function that doesn't have any parameters in it, Access will only evaluate that function once and use the same value for every record in the query, even if it's something like date or now, right? Even if this query takes 5 seconds to generate, that now value is going to be the same for every record, okay? Because Access only evaluates it once to save time. So the same thing happens with RND. It only evaluates that once because it only has to. So now you get the same random number for everybody. And yes, every time you run this, it will be a different random number because Access uses the random number that it generates to seed the next random number. Okay? What is a seed value? Well, a random number seed is basically telling Access, take this value, put it in your algorithm for generating random numbers. An algorithm is just some big complicated math function. Okay, it could be anything really. And then out from that spits a random number. Okay, and what that random number is the next seed for the next random number. All right, that's how it generates a pseudo-random number. Now, if we want a different value for each record, we have to seed this with a different value for each time the random number runs. So, go into Design View. We have to give the random number a different seed for each record. There happens to be a unique seed value for each record, and that happens to be the customer ID. So why don't we feed the random number a seed value of the customer ID? That's a good auto number. We can use that, right? That should be unique for each record, right? Let's save it and run it. And there we go. There's a bunch of unique values. All right, and if I go back to Design View and run it again, I get a different set of unique values. Right? Each time you run it, you get a different set of unique values because each record is seeding the random number generator. Okay? But there's another problem that creeps in. Watch this. If I close the database and I open it back up again, okay, run my query. All right, look at that. 0.70, 0.53, 0.57. Okay? Close the database, reopen it again. Run the query. 0.70, 0.53, 0.57. The problem is that random number algorithm resets every time Access starts up. So unless you have some way of randomizing that, then you're going to get the same values over and over and over again. So in this case, every time you run your list of employees for drug testing, the same 25% are going to get tested every time, unless you find a way to randomize that sequence. Now in VBA, for my VBA programmers, we do have a command called randomize, and we can use that in our VBA code to randomize the random number seed every time we run our code. But even if you issue a randomize command in VBA, it still doesn't help your queries if you're generating random numbers in this fashion. So what we need to do is we need to find some way to come up with a unique seed in here, a unique value, without relying on the randomize command. And furthermore, that seed value has to be different each time the random function is called. Right now, it's the same, right, for each row. If you restart the database, it's going to give you the same value again because this value is always the same. So we're going to add to that something else that's a little bit different. What's a little bit different? Well, what about the system clock? Okay, there's a function called timer that at any moment will tell you how many seconds have passed since midnight. It's very similar to date and now. Timer gives you the number of seconds. Okay, and it's a floating point number too, so it's very accurate. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here. Let me zoom in so you can see this better. We're going to take the customer ID. We're going to multiply that by the timer value. Okay, so that's the number of seconds since midnight. And then we're going to multiply that by -1. Now, why are we multiplying by -1? Well, it's a quirk in the way the random function works. Let me explain. Okay, normally for the random function, when you send it a seed value, if it's blank or greater than 0, random will always return the next number in the pseudo-random sequence. So whatever the next number in the algorithm happens to be, based on the seed value, okay, that's the number you get. If you send it a 0, it will give you the most recently generated number. And that's handy if you want to repeat the value some way, okay? But if you send it a negative number, it will use that seed number as the specific seed value for the algorithm. So it's not going to say, give me the next number in the sequence. It's going to use your number and run that through the algorithm. So by taking the customer ID and the timer and saying use that specific value for the algorithm, you're guaranteed to get a random number every time, unless you happen to run the same exact query at the same exact time tomorrow. Okay? So if that's the case, you got to be careful with that. So if your machine boots at midnight and automatically starts up Access and automatically runs this random number generator, yeah, you might duplicate it, but I doubt it. Because, your computer is not going to start up exactly the same, to the millisecond, right? So this is a pretty good way of making sure that your numbers are randomized. So let me hit OK. Let's save that. I'm going to close the database. And let's open it back up again. And run the query. And there's our random numbers. All right, 8.78, 0.58. Let's close it. Open it up again. Run the query. 0.94, 0.44. See, there you go. Now it's completely randomized. And again, the reason why is because we're specifying the random number seed to use. And the customer ID times the system timer is going to be random. Okay, for 99.999% of the time. This will work just fine for you. Now, to get the top 25% or top 50% or whatever you want, all you have to do is sort based on this field now. So sort ascending. And if I run them, now you'll see they're sorted. That E minus O2 means you got 2 more decimal places over there. That's a very small number. Yeah, see another very small number on top. Let's keep running it. Okay, there we go. All right, now you can see they're in order. Okay. If you want to change this to be a number from like 1 to 1,000, for example, just take this result here. Let me show you. Let's go 1 to 1,000. All right. We're going to take this result. We're going to multiply it by 1,000. Then we're going to chop off the decimal point. So we're going to go int of all of that. Okay. And then we're going to add 1. So instead of going from 0 to 999, we go from 1 to 1,000. That'll give us numbers from 1 to 1,000 now. If I run it now, there's your numbers. Okay. And run it again, and there we go. Okay. And now that I've got it sorted, I can come over here and say return. What do you want to return? The top 5, the top 25, the top 25%. Okay. Top 25%, and then run it, and there they are, the top 2. Okay. Or if you want the top 3 records, run it, and there you go. I cover a lot more with random numbers in my Access Expert Level 26 class. Lots of math stuff in this lesson too. But we actually build a dice roller, and I show you again how to display random X records. Here's the dice roller we build, right? Roll 3d6 dice. And then in Access Developer Level 3, we cover random numbers in VBA. I'll teach you about the Rnd and the randomize functions in VBA, and we'll build a math quiz generator where it generates 2 random numbers, and it asks you for the answer. I will put links to both of those classes in the links section down below the video. If you want to learn more about generating random numbers, in the extended cut, 22 minutes long, I cover a lot of different stuff. First, we'll talk about random numbers in VBA, how the random function works a little bit differently, and you can use the randomize function to make sure that your random number seed is initialized properly. Then we will build a dice roller, a little dice roller right here. Goes back to my Dungeons and Dragons days, right? You can roll 3 6-sided dice 6 times, and there's your ability scores, right? Your strength, intelligence. Yeah, I used to be a gamer nerd back in my youth. But dice rolling is always a popular thing people always ask me how to do. How do I roll dice? Well, there you go. There's some dice rolling. Whether you're going to play Yahtzee or whatever. Then we'll learn how to assign random numbers to the customers and keep them there. All right, how do you assign those random numbers and stick them in the customer's record? Right? A couple different reasons you might want to do this. You might want to, if you're doing drug testing, for example, you might want to know, okay, last time who were the top 20 that we called, so we don't call the same ones, right? So you can store that number in there. Or you might want to just be assigning random IDs to people and just have that part of their record. So I'm going to show you how to use a record set to loop through the records in the customer table and assign a unique random number to each one of them. Then I'll show you how to get a better random number than just looking at the system timer. We'll randomize using a human element. Remember I said that true random numbers are better off if they can look at some external stimulus outside the computer? Well, what's better than the mouse coordinates, right? Where exactly on this button does the user click? If they click here, right, the coordinates, the XY coordinates of the mouse might be slightly different. So we can use that multiplied by the system timer, which is the number of seconds since midnight, right? That'll give us an even better random number than just looking at the system timer alone. Okay? And then finally, if you want a real, true random number, we'll use a free web API from random.org, which is a cool website. That's in the links down below, by the way, in the cool stuff links that I mentioned earlier. Okay? You can get a random number from them right into your Access database by clicking a button. It'll go out to the web, ask their website, hey, can I have a random number, please? Bring it right back and put it right inside your database. All that is covered in the extended cut. 22 minutes long. It's actually more like 25 minutes, but who's counting? Silver members and up get access to all the extended cut videos. There's lots of them now. There's like 200 and some plus. Okay. Gold members can download all my databases and source code from the Tech Help videos. So that's a reason to become a member right there. How do you become a member? Click on the join button below the video. After you click the join button, you'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks. Silver members and up will get access to all of my extended cut Tech Help videos, one free beginner class each month, and more. Gold members get access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my Tech Help videos, plus my code vault, where I keep tons of different functions that I use. You'll also get a higher priority if you decide to submit any Tech Help questions to me, and you'll get one free expert class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks, plus even higher priority for Tech Help questions, access to all of my full beginner courses for every subject, and one free developer class each month after you finish the expert classes. These are the full-length courses found on my website, not just for Access too. I also teach Word, Excel, Visual Basic, and lots more. You can now become a Diamond sponsor and have your name or company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown in each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. But don't worry, these free Tech Help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click on the bell icon to select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Make sure you click the Show More link down below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted, so if you'd like to get an email every time I post a video, click on the link to join my mailing list. Even if you don't want to become a member, feel free to donate to my tip jar. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got puppies to feed. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access. It's over 4 hours long, and I just updated it for 2021. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below that you can click on. And also, if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. Yep, that's all, $1, and it's free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level, even supporters. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my Tech Help page on my website. You can send me your question there. While you're on my site, feel free to stop by the Access Forum. Lots of good conversations happening there. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Once again, my name is Richard Ross. Thank you for watching this tech help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something today. I'll see you again soon.